Not
Wait a
much.
minute. There he is.
Whoa.
What's up?
Whoa.
What's up?
How's it going, guys? I'm in my car. How are you?
We just
Well, we can
we're
hear
with
you
your
fine.
wife. We just
All right,
interviewed your
perfect.
wife. Yes, sir.
Oh, well, you guys are the lucky ones then, huh?
Yeah, she actually just left literally less than 2 minutes ago.
Well, I'll see her whenever I get home, whenever that may be. So I'll have her
Yeah,
for
that's
tonight.
okay.
I'm glad you guys got to make use of her for now.
Yeah, she's a great guest, you know, and she told us all about her past, and she's been doing martial arts for a long time, 22 years. You know, that's a good that's a pretty black screen we got going on there.
I think we lost him.
Blake, you there? I dropped his phone. You see, he's still connected.
He's still connected. He probably still can hear us.
All right, Blake, we'll get. Hopefully, you can get back on here. We'll give you a couple of.
Yeah, click the link again, Blake. So
There he is. Can we hear him?
no. Can you hear us? I don't think he has. Can you hear us, Blake? I think he's just walking with his phone down.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
This is great. Yo.
There he is.
Yep. I think it's like phone's connected to his car.
No. All right, Blake, we can't hear you. Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Can you hear us?
Okay, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. You might want to try and exit. Yeah, it's not the mic's.
It's hooked up to your car, maybe. Turn your volume up on your car.
You want to try and exit and then come back in?
You just exit. So,
we'll give him a second.
We got a bunch of our Fighting News fans laughing at the technical difficulties. But you
that's
know,
all right. Look, if they had something better to do, they'd be doing it. Come on now.
I feel like on the Sprint commercial. Can you hear me now? He hears us, but we can't hear you.
Yeah.
No,
we can't hear you, bud. But now his mic is muted.
Nothing.
Go ahead.
Hey,
No?
we got it. We got it. Oh, we got the black screen again.
We got it. Talk. We can hear you.
Oh.
What was that? We heard
Trish,
him first.
Trish is home, like laughing. She's like probably still watching. She's probably cracking up. This is great. So, you know, I want to thank all the listeners today for tuning in to the Fighting News TV. We had a bunch of matchmakers. Michael Maldonado, XFN, he was tuning in. You know, Paul Collins Gamboa. I don't know you, but, you know, hey, listen, we go live just about every other day here with the Fighting News. Check us out, like and subscribe. We're at the Fighting News on Facebook, the Fighting News Twitter, thefightingnews.com, our website, Facebook, The Fighting News. Sign, like, subscribe, comment, you know, tell us how great the show is. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your comments. Watch UFC 249 this weekend. Support Charles Rosa, Boston Strong.
The Boston Strangler.
No.
And hey, happy Cinco de Mayo to Hector Garcia from Multitude. Oh, there he is. We hear you now.
Working. Oh, yeah? Now it's working. Okay, great.
Yeah, perfect.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Sorry
there's
about
my.
that.
Yeah, no problem.
Do I need to connect back to the car again? Or
No, we're good. Don't
no,
touch
it's
nothing.
perfect. Don't touch anything. It's perfect the way it is now.
Yeah, so I was in a car accident Friday, and I had to go and get x-rays and stuff done, and then they called me and said that they forgot to give me a report, so I don't know what happened after that. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right. You're all right? Everything good?
I'm pretty banged up. Not very. Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm not perfect. I've been worse. I've been better. I've been better most of my life, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, thank God for the voice, because I can still hear it. It's still working good.
That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's paying the bills these days, huh?
So we have you down as the official, unofficial voice of combat sports.
That's it. That's it. Nothing wrong with a little bit of self-deprecation, right?
Yes, sir. So let's hear you say that.
Hey, who, me? I'm Blake Bowman. I am the official, unofficial voice of combat sports.
Boom.
I apologize for watching the road.
That's all right.
There you go.
There you go.
And so,
Sounded good.
are you still you're scheduled to commentate on the next XFN on the 30th, correct?
Pipes still work, man. I'm looking beyond forward to it. I always enjoy working with XFN. I've been with them actually since XFN 1 when they weren't doing a broadcast. I did the ring announcing on the earlier shows, and I've done every XFN event commentary since XFN 7. So always a good time, always incredible fights. It's a great way to be around the sport of MMA, talk to guys, keep my ear to the ground, see the up and comers. We've had a lot of great guys come off the show. So yeah, it's what's not to love, right?
Nothing. There's nothing not to love about XFN. It's quickly become one of my favorite shows down here for sure.
I understand why.
Yeah, and definitely, it's my favorite amateur show.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
We do pro-am. The pro-ams are great as well. Always have good pro fights when we have them. So
your friend
really
Paul
enjoy featuring the combat jiu-jitsu as well, right? That's something I personally really like is the Grapple X, the combat jiu-jitsu. I really enjoy that. Not for everybody, I guess, but I enjoy it.
Your friend Paul Collins Gamboa says hello.
Oh yeah, Paul is an excellent part. He's a part of the show as well. He's a coach and trainer of a couple guys that are on the cards. He's always a good guy to have around. Always helps out guys that aren't his guys, right? That goes a long way when you're a coach and a trainer. If you offer assistance to people that aren't necessarily within your camp, it says a lot about you. So what's up, Paul?
And Michael Maldonado says hello. Says, what's up, Malake?
Never heard of her. No, I'm kidding. My Michael, as you guys well know, right, does an awful lot of work with the show as well. Integral part of the show.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican superstar.
So he says.
He's a Puerto Rican superstar in his own mind.
Hey, Matt, I bet you the Puerto Rican superstar can beat you in an arm wrestle.
In an arm wrestling match.
Well, we established the fact that Trisha would absolutely destroy Steve. She gave us a double bicep pose before she signed off, and that was a consensus around here. It was a unanimous consensus that Trisha would annihilate Steve.
She's got guns, man.
She does.
She's got the peaks for the freaks.
Yeah, well, she's got the sponsorship by the Bomar Nutrition now, so they're gonna get even bigger.
Thank goodness.
Then what? And then she told us about the kitchen boxing, so you're gonna have to watch out, Blake. You're gonna be in trouble, man. Yes, she said that you guys train in all over the house, during this quarantine time, and sometimes, if you're in the kitchen, that there could sparring can break out there in the kitchen.
It does happen. I don't know what I need to watch out for, but it happens, yeah.
You need to watch out for her taking all the new nutritional supplements and getting stronger and stronger until she's gonna, That's all I'm saying.
She better up that sponsorship level.
So Blake, I've seen you do some pro wrestling, some events. Tell me about that.
Man, I found it to be a natural transition. In all honesty, that's that's kind of how I got back into MMA, right? I'm from the South, Atlanta, Alabama, so it was always a part of my life, and in all honesty, make fun of it, but part of my culture growing up. But I went, not that you asked, but here's a story. I went to UFC 10 in Birmingham, where Mark Holman took everyone down and headbutted them for like 20 minutes each, and I was just like, this is shit. Like, why would I want to come watch this? If I wanted to watch a wrestler take a guy down and headbutt him, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But and I didn't really follow the UFC anymore, but I would do back in our days, kiddies, before we had the internet and things like that, we would do tape trading. And I did a lot of pro wrestling tape trading and stuff like that, and found Shudo. Shudo was actually founded in the mid-'80s by a guy named Tiger Mask, a legendary Japanese pro wrestler. And I got into Shudo, and I was like, hey, I like this. This is good stuff. And I started watching more and more Shudo. And then I was aware of Matt Hughes slamming Carlos Newton at UFC 34. But then at 36, Sakurai came from Shudo to fight Carlos Newton. And I was like, oh, I'm going to watch that. And it wasn't guys getting headbutted into submission anymore. It was what it was becoming in the early 2000s, and that's kind of what brought me back into the fold, as it were. Pro wrestling to Shudo, and then Maha Sakurai back to UFC.
Nice. So how was that experience?
Yeah.
Was, your wife was inspiring to get there someday.
To the UFC.
To the
I lost
UFC.
you there.
Well, let's go back a minute. They used to allow headbutting in the UFC, and then they stopped.
How was the experience?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys sort of breaking up. How was the experience of watching Mark Coleman headbutt people?
No, your experience. Your experience in the UFC.
My experience in the UFC?
Yeah.
Well, he was in the Ultimate Fighter, season 6.
Yeah.
The show is, I'm sorry, I'm going inside the house now, so we'll be able to fix all this in just a second. I mean, the show is what the show is, right? And back then it was the furnace. You weren't allowed to have books. You weren't allowed to read newspapers. You weren't allowed to make phone calls. It was what it was back then.
Yeah.
It was a situation where you had no access to your coaches, no access to your camps, no contact to your family, but unlimited alcohol available to you at all times. It kind of was what it was back then. They had the guys that were in there like me that could use it for experience and could try to get better, which I did, and were there for whatever they were there for. And you had the guys that were there to win it. So that is what it was. I learned a lot. I definitely learned how to be a fighter from Matt Hughes and Robbie Lawler, Mark Fiore, and all those guys. So they took me in. They were good to me. So you learn things you can't learn anywhere else, for sure, in that situation.
What was Dana White thinking by allowing you guys to drink your faces off in that house? What was going through his mind? Because he used to get mad at people all the time, and he'd go in there and he'd yell at people for doing the wrong thing. Well, what do you expect? They got nothing to do except drink.
Yeah, you got nothing to do. Every couple days, there's another guy that's now in there because I think that we were like maybe the second season, because I know the first 3 seasons, if you lost, you went to the loser house. You were taken out of the house. And then they did the comeback, and those guys all stayed in with, McCarthy and Lytle and Sarah and Pete Sprouse, the whole murderers row that were there for that. And then you had 5 and 6. I think we were like the first ones where you didn't leave the house. So you had guys that were in the house that had lost, that knew that was it, but you still can't go home. You still can't read books. You still can't sing songs. Not allowed to sing, not allowed to listen to music because it's all copywritten. They can't use the footage if you do it. So you're just stuck in there like, shit, I'm here for 4 more weeks for nothing. And depression hits you, and alcohol and one thing leads to another, and they knew that it was going to lead to something, right? And it usually did, more often than not, would lead to something. So I guess that was the thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't the best idea, huh? It was
Depends
a good
on
show, though. It was always entertaining. Always
Yeah.
entertaining. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. You know what? The most important thing that I learned out of that was that you never know how things are going to go with people that you meet, right? Because my roommate, a guy who, when I was in there, I was in there on a blown knee anyway, fighting on a blown knee. Afterwards, I knew I was stuck in there on a blown knee. I knew that I was going to look at least bad, if not terrible, depending on how they decide to edit you. The contract says they can edit you however they want. And then there was my roommate who used his grocery store order one day to get me my birthday cake and decorated it for me and everything like that. And that guy is doing life in prison right now. So it's like, man.
Oh, wow. For what? What did he do?
Well, it was his third strike for violent offenses. It's War Machine. War Machine was my roommate in the house.
Oh.
So there was a point in time where I was as low as I'll ever be, and that was the guy that used his daily grocery store to get me a birthday cake, right? Kind of like a commissary in prison almost, it felt like. And he got me a birthday cake and stuff. Like, that goes, that means more to you than you can say. But then it's like, oh, also he almost beat his girlfriend to death too. So I'm not cool with that, by the way. So it's a very weird situation to be in with stuff like that.
Yeah. Wow. That's some story, huh?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So after the Ultimate Fighter, then you still had a professional MMA career, and
correct.
How'd you get into commentating? What made you want to start to do that?
Actually, it was offered to me. I had fought in Indiana a couple times. I worked for an airline, for AirTran, and I had travel privileges, and I had this really cushy schedule. And some guys that I trained with, Cole Miller was put down as my travel companion, so he got unlimited flight benefits. And then so I had buddy passes. So then it was basically anybody on this team Praxis from Griffin, Georgia. Shout out to Cam McCard. Anybody on the team, hey, take a fight wherever you want, as long as there's an airport nearby. Blake can get you there for $60. And so we were taking fights that otherwise wouldn't have out of towners come in, because we all had had buddy passes. Anywhere that I fought, the agreement was Cole gets unlimited travel, but he's got to come corner me, and then vice versa. I go corner him. And so I was fighting in Indiana a lot for a show that really produced a lot of good guys, Legends of Fighting back in the day. And they said, hey, you should do a commentary. We're doing this black tie New Year's Eve show. And it was before I was even on the Ultimate Fighter. They just said, you got the personality, the voice, come do these commentaries for us. So I've been doing that since like 2006.
Wow. Yes. That's an interesting turn of events there. How did you feel the first time you did the commentating? Because that's not an easy job.
No,
it's not an easy job. And I always, when I see the commentators, I'm like, it's just not an easy job. You can't take your eyes off the fight, number one. And, you have to think quickly, and you have to know what you're talking about, obviously, but it's not an easy job.
Well, I've always been good at talking, right? No matter what. And I do have, I like to think, a pretty good understanding of the game, not just as a fighter, but as just a student of the game. A lot of boxing, a lot of, I wrestled a lot of experience. So I understand the technicality of it. I've always had like a teaching mind, but I suppose. So explaining things like that. When I first started out, once again, not to say anything about the state of MMA in 2006, but it was not what we know it is today. And a lot of the guys, you had the red corner, and they were on every show. And then you had the blue corner, and they might have been guys that worked in the warehouse that was owned by the guy that owned the show. And he would throw an extra $200 on their paycheck at the end of the week if they would fight Tom Kirk, who's got 30 fights.
right.
Or, Sean Salmon. I fought on cards with Sean Salmon where he was fighting guys that might as well have been out of the crowd, you know. No offense to him at all, but it's just like they're lambs to slaughter. So I knew the guys from the other fights. I'd fought there 4 or 5 times already. So I knew this side of the bracket already. I knew what they were going to do. I knew Tristan Yonker. I knew Tom Kirk. I knew Scott Tuggle. I knew the guys, Zach Jenkins, that had the records. And then the other guys were just kind of, I don't want to say fodder, but I mean, close to it, you know, close to it. They were cans to get crushed. And I don't say that disrespectfully because I've been brought in as a can to get crushed, and I've won some and lost some. But that's what they were, and it was in an era where they had no training, so it was easy to do that because I already knew. Yeah. I already knew the results. You know, I already knew what was going to happen before the fight started, so it was easy to do it. I kept it light. They paired me up with a guy named Jacob Staller. He was the mouth of the Midwest, like a ring announcer and stuff like that back in the day. And so I had, when you got a good partner and you can play like your partner, like now I'm partnered up with Sean Ambrosino, who I used to train with. He's a black belt. He's a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a black belt. I've known him for as long as I've been living in Florida, over 10 years. So we can definitely play off each other. And at that point in time, every now and then, John Anik always says him and Dom are 2 friends talking about fights. Every now and then you're lucky enough to get in that groove, and it's so easy. So easy at that point in time, really.
Where does George train? Where does George train at? George who? Sean, I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, Sean Ambrosino. He is a black belt under Manny Flores, Carlson Gracie Boca.
And where did you train?
Where did I train?
Yeah.
We're losing the sound again. Now we're losing the picture.
Can't hear you.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, we lost the sound, Blake.
So I'll commentate. Son of a bitch.
Crazy.
I can read mouths.
Now his camera's done. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
You want to?
1, 2. I can't hear you. Talk.
You want to call back on whatever Trisha was using before? Because that was working fine. Her connection was great. And you might want to say hi to her. I mean, come on, man. You just got home after it was 9:15 at night.
Can't hear you. So we are live. The Fighting News TV. TheFightingNews.com. We're everywhere. I've been telling people this for freaking 10 years already, Matt.
10 years.
At least 10 years. I've been telling everyone this. I've been telling everyone that we're everywhere.
And what is it? What has the response been like? You got a good number of followers and people that you know that love you and call in. And...
How about now?
Hey,
there you go.
Good.
Except it says Trisha under your name, but that's all right though. People know we're not
That's me. That's my wife.
Good.
Yes, Mr. Trisha, how are you?
What's up there?
Good. My training, like I said, I started out. I always like to say this now. You appreciate it as you get older. Speaking of high level guys that I've been extremely lucky to commentate and meet during my time with XFN. Elvin Espinoza. What's up? This guy is an absolute killing machine. Have you ever seen him fight?
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen Elvin fight.
Brutal ground fighter. I'm a huge fan. Lucky to call him. That's one of those moments I'm talking about where your two buddies talking about fights while they're happening. And Elvin's one of those guys that I really enjoy calling his fights. Nice. So
you get to commentate a lot of great fighters in Florida.
Man, a lot.
Wait.
And I watch it sometimes and I just say, like, holy shit, these guys are like amateurs, you know?
Yeah,
like this is insane.
And they got 2 belts and no one can beat them. Yeah.
Like nobody, like I said, I've always approached it like from a technical standpoint, and like the pros weren't this good, man. Like I fought on cards in Indiana at LFC I talked about earlier with like Chris Price. Chris Price was a good fighter, man. He made it to the UFC. He got served up to Kendall Grove on a platter at one point in time, but it is what it is. It happens to everybody. But it's like, and I don't mean this, I don't mean as a slight to Chris, but as a like, dude, Chris Price was never as good as Elvin Espinoza was as an amateur. And like He was a good pro. He was a very good pro, but he was not as good as Elvin was. It's insane to see that level of competition.
Yeah. So
there's a great scene down here, and there's a lot of trainers that have been around for a long time, and there's a lot of history down here. And it's definitely I wouldn't say South Florida is overlooked as a spot for for MMA fighters, for up and coming MMA fighters with ATT down here, But it's not just ATT. There's other gyms around that are producing really, really good fighters that are exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
I mean, Combat Club over there, and now you got the Goat Shed down in Miami, and some of the killers that are training there. That Ryan Cuse and and their coach at Asim Dady, he's been around forever.
Yeah. Cuse is another one, man. Cuse is another one that he is what he is, and he's down. He is down to fight, and he's another one I really enjoy. Another guy from there, and I think he's been AWOL for a while. I don't know his situation, but Ryan Anwar, the big Kia, he's a very fun fighter to watch. Very fun.
So we have an event, Blake, the 30th. Yeah. So supposedly, supposedly it's on. It's on. We're like,
I'm on.
It's on. So let's talk about that card. Do we have any confirmed fights?
I do. I hate to look at my phone right now, but I do have a couple.
Look at your phone. Let's talk about a couple of those fights.
We have Devin Dixon and Vic, and we have yes, and Gloria DeCosta and Kat Nelson.
Yeah, yep.
Those are 2 good fights.
Kickboxer and nunchuck enthusiast Kat Nelson, XFN veteran returning. Excited to watch that. She's fought kickboxing for us in the past, but yeah, man, the Devin Dixon Vic Dixit fight was supposed to happen in the past, and I've never been more excited about not messing up the names of combatants than Devin Dixon Vic Dixit, because that's a tongue twister in and of itself. But 2 good guys, 2 contrasting styles was supposed to happen. We have a guy that you're mentioning the good teams. The Christian Carvalho Jiu-Jitsu is not even a team that's recognized outside of Florida. That's just a murderer's row of talented guys. And one of the guys out of there, he had fought Dixon for the title. Devin dropped him. I think my commentary was that it was a redemption song because he had beaten Devin, gassed Devin out and put him away in the past. So I referred to it as like a redemption song. Devin iced him, knocked him out. But he also had lost to Vic. So this was pretty much so like the fight that was supposed to happen. It was going to happen, got scrapped. Now we're finally getting it. I couldn't be more ready for it.
Devin has just been he's just been superior, in his last couple of fights. So I'm definitely looking forward to someone,
always
him more of a challenge.
And he's a guy that brings the hometown crowd that feeds off the hometown crowd. Definitely a world beater. And he was expressing to me at his last fight how much he enjoys being able to sleep in his own bed, get up and eat breakfast in his own kitchen, which are things that until you travel, you really don't appreciate how much that helps you. Being able to, cut weight at your own gym, rehydrate in your own house, sleep in your own bed, as opposed to, like I mentioned before, going to Indiana, you're fighting an Indiana guy. For whatever reason, they can't find a sauna for you to cut weight in. You got to do it in the parking lot, but their guys got a sauna. You don't have to deal with that kind of foolishness when you're fighting on a local show, which is always great.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage for sure.
Yeah.
And we're lucky to have so many good promoters down here also that put on those shows, so people don't have to travel around all over the place.
Yeah, man. And Danny K, right? I'm not looking to pucker up on Daniel, but he puts on an excellent card. It's pretty funny. Trisha had fought 4 amateur fights for them, and then whenever she went professional, she said, "Wow, I really miss XFN. I wish that these professional shows were run as good as the amateur show that I came from." And she wasn't even fighting on the worst pro shows I'd seen by a long shot. So he does a very good job. He puts together a show that is much better than it should be for a local amateur show. To be honest with you, it's anybody that gets an opportunity to fight here would be wasting it if they don't. We've had guys come in from overseas, guys get sponsors to come in from Washington, and they all say the same thing, that it's as good of a show as they ever fought on. So, and then the other shows are the same. I did commentary for Rise of a Warrior for a while. Good show, good matchmaking, good presentation. So that's 2 specifically that I've worked with down here. I did Fight Game, Rumble at the Rock, at the Hard Rock. Trisha fought there last year. I did that with Jay Adams, which was an all-pro show. But, we have amateur shows that are produced better than a lot of pro shows I've seen or been a part of. So it's a new world, new game.
Yeah, definitely. I think for XFN, 25, I think was the first one that I went to. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed. I was just very impressed, and I wish I knew of them earlier. I would have gone to some of their earlier ones and covered that, and and brought our team down there. But since then, I think I've been to every one.
Why not? Why wouldn't you come?
Well, the other 2 that they had now.
The other 2. Why not? Why wouldn't you come? It's a good show, good seats, good crowd. When we can have, I don't know the situation if we have a crowd or not. I hope so, because our fans are good. They're always there. And once again, local fighters, the fans got skin in the game too. They know somebody. So that makes it so much better. It makes it better as a commentator, better as a fighter. It makes the whole atmosphere better whenever they're not just there to watch fights and go, whoa, like at the UFC. They know somebody. They've eaten with somebody on the card, and it's a better show whenever that's the case.
Totally agree 100%. And you can feel it. You can the crowd there for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to I just don't know if we are going to the one on the 30th, but I would like to.
You certainly should. Where are you coming from?
Danny invited us, so
well,
if we're allowed
you actually know the official unofficial voice, so just telling you know a guy.
If we're allowed to be there.
Which voice is telling us, the official one or the unofficial one?
Well, see, I'm just unofficial as a person, but I am officially the unofficial voice of combat sports. So I'm just an unofficial guy in general.
That is so confusing that it sounds okay to me. That it lends some legitimacy to what you're saying.
Thank you. I'm a wordsmith.
Well, that's what I'll go with. If they give us any slack at the door, I'll say, look, the official, unofficial voice told us we can be here. So officially we can be there.
He officially said that we can unofficially come in here. Exactly.
Yeah. COVID what? I don't know anything about that.
Never heard of her.
First of all, I'll have a mask on. They won't know him anyway.
COVID-19, that's some kind of assault rifle.
Well, Matt's 6'5", so he can just say, "I'm here for the fight."
Yeah. He can just say, "I'm here to change the light bulbs over the cage."
I'll have the mask on and I'll tumble, and they won't understand what I'm saying, and I'll just walk in like I own the place, and that's
Yeah, but no, I definitely would like to go. We have a fight this weekend, UFC 249, which is in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. We got a local guy, Charles Rosa, fighting on that card. Wow, these guys just this is the first fight, coming back from everyone being quarantined. I just think that the heads are gonna roll.
Yeah,
fight depraved. We're
Yeah.
fighting to free.
And that is Rose's style anyway. I actually was one of Rose's first coaches. Whenever he came in off the street, I was teaching classes at Boca MMA, Charles McCarthy's gym.
Right.
Me and Cole and Micah Miller were running the classes there. So I traveled with that guy. I drove him all over the South for his amateur career. I cornered him in almost all of his amateur fights. That's how I got in with Rise of a Warrior. They did the Rise of a Warrior tournament. So I piggybacked off cornering him there. They asked, "Hey, why don't you do some stuff for us?" And huge fan of that guy as a fighter. Huge fan of Bryce Mitchell as a fighter. Whenever I saw them start talking back and forth on Twitter, I thought, "There's no way that the fight gods will allow something like this to happen. There's no way, and it's going to happen." I can't wait.
It's happening.
Yeah.
We wish them luck. That's going to be great. I actually saw a YouTube video of Charles McCarthy back Cage Junkies interviewing you back in the day.
Wow. Yeah. That's not, I was depleted. I think I was 155 back then. So
man.
I was a small guy.
Wow, that is old school.
Yeah.
And then what about that main event though? Ferguson and Gaethje. Man, that's going to be
Yeah, who do you got in that?
Man, I love everything about Justin Gaethje. I love everything about the way he fights, the way he carries himself, the way that
Wait. You like that he fights like this?
No
hands up. I mean, it's literally his.
That doesn't bother me. Hey, you can't counter punch if you don't make him punch first. But I have no reason to believe that Tony Ferguson can't handle him at all. If I'm putting money, that's where I'm putting it. Like I said, I've had tickets that said Ferguson Nurmagomedov on them twice that were both rendered useless. So I never believed it was happening this time. I didn't believe it, and I was proven right yet again. So
they tried to if they put that together, it'll be the 7th time that they try if they get it.
No, Khabib and Tony. I don't believe it's ever going to happen. I didn't believe it this time. No.
It's crazy.
But you believe that Khabib would have been here if they had it. He just wasn't allowed to.
Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he be here?
He wasn't allowed to leave.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't he? The guy's undefeated, including fights against bears. Why wouldn't he be here? As a guy that, as I said, approaches this like a puzzle, like a jigsaw puzzle, or intellectually, I couldn't wait to see Eddie Bravo, whose rubber guard game I've been lucky enough to dabble in, is designed to shut down ground and pound against, and Tony's the best at it. Tony's his best guy for MMA, utilizing pure jiu-jitsu, rubber guard, 10th planet style jiu-jitsu to nullify ground and pound and use his own ground and pound. And he's going against, the pinnacle of evolution of ground and pound is what I think that you have to refer to Khabib. Once again, I mentioned Mark Coleman earlier. I've trained with Matt Hughes. I've watched GSP. I've trained with some great guys, and Khabib is the next step of human evolution and ground and pound. If you want me to sum up what I think he is, so it was a mathematical standpoint. It was a beautiful fight. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely
Dana White
on another
says
level.
the winner of that fight's gonna
Sure.
get Khabib. So they got
On
a
a private island with Bruce Lee. Yeah, no, I know. Dana White says a lot of stuff.
You don't think Fight Island's ever going to happen?
Not anytime soon, man. Are they going to go to the Home Depot at Fight Island to get the stuff they need to build the lights? No, they're not. They have to bring it in on boats or planes or whatever. They have to have contractors. It's not going to happen for years. If it happens, I hope it happens tomorrow, but it's not going to happen for at least a year.
That's what I know. Why don't they just do it on a cruise ship? You can do whatever you want on a cruise ship. There are no, you're in international waters there. Doesn't that make sense?
What happens when the boat goes like this?
That's an easy sweep if you're on bottom. I don't know. Maybe Dana White can get Elon Musk to fly him to the moon in a private space shuttle or something. I don't know.
So
that's just around the corner.
So you got Ferguson against
Gaethje.
Justin Gaethje. We saw Justin Gaethje years ago in U.S. World Series of Fighting.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that league too long. I was like, when's UFC going to sign this guy? You know, just
Yeah.
they see these guys that are UFC bound. I mean, Jason Suarez, he's UFC. He's was bound like 6-7 fights ago.
Yeah.
You know, he can compete. They just wait and wait. I don't get why. You know, they'll sign a guy from football
Right.
in 2 seconds. They'll sign a professional wrestler in 2 seconds. But
Right.
you know, we want to see the guys we know can compete.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you had Gilbert Melendez, you had Eddie Alvarez, you had Justin Gaethje, you had all these guys
Yeah.
that by the time they get there, not to say that Eddie didn't achieve very well, but you know they've had some wars, and the MMA math is real, you know, and
Yeah.
or the MM age, as I call it, is real. You know, you have to multiply your years on the earth by the number of fights you had to get your real age. And these guys are in wars. You know, I mean, if you go back and watch Josh Thompson and Gilbert fight at the Playboy Mansion years ago, it's like those guys were ready then.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if it's because they have to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have to buy out the Strike Force or the Bellator or the World Series contract. They're not going to do it. I don't know. I don't know the reason behind it.
Yeah, that might be it. It probably could be that. But Gaethje has always had that style of just come straight at you and with no regard for personal safety. Or I can't believe he's lasted this long in
it's
the
amazing
game.
how long it's worked. Yeah.
I mean, we have another local Titan FC, Lex McMahon, the COO. He's, you know, if someone wants to go to UFC, he praises them. You go, thank God you're making
Please,
it to the big show. Please.
Yeah.
Over 100 fighters that has gone through his establishment, his fight game have made it to the big show. And I mean, that's some accomplishment. And you know, he
makes the plea. He makes the plea. Dana White, please call this guy. I'm ready to send him. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And the Titan FC is also televised on Fight Pass, which is huge for him.
It never hurts your show's stock to send somebody to the big show. I don't know if people think that they're losing something special. Maybe they are, but they're gaining the prestige of our champion. Look where our champion is. Look, if you come fight for us, look at where you're going to go, and it just makes you more appealing as a promotion to fans as well.
Right.
Come watch them now before they're
for
on
pro shows down here. I mean, Titan FC is it as far as pro shows down here go. I mean, I think it's a show that most fighters would want to fight for.
Sure.
And I think they put on the best show, and I think he takes care of the fighters too the best. You know. So
yeah, and it's good exposure. You know, once again, you're on Fight Pass, so anybody's like fight fan that has that subscription, just log in and check me out. You know, it's that simple. You're already targeted to the right audience. Good promotion. Pretty good matchmaking. You don't have the like I was talking about earlier. We just have the guys from the warehouse versus the professional MMA. You have good matchmaking, good solid fight. Trisha's fought there, had some strong opponents both times she fought there. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of guys will have good fights there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So talk to us. We have your wife gave us 4 of her favorite UFC fighters. Let's hear 4 of yours. Retired, fighting, or not retired? Doesn't matter. Just all time.
Retired or fighting. There's no other category.
Yeah, right. Retired or fighting or on
it could be dead, Matt.
Well, that's the same as retired, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And speaking of which, Evan Tanner's definitely an honorable mention, for sure. Jens, I have to say Jens. Absolutely. Biased because we're friends.
Evil.
Absolutely. Hashtag Jens for Hall of Fame. Let's get real here, man. Does it count if I say old BJ? Does that count?
Well, there is a big difference. I think BJ, when he started off, he was something else. You know, he was the next evolution when he started off.
Absolutely.
And then he just let his career go too long.
Robbie, I feel like maybe I'm biased. He's another guy that was a friend of me in the house, and he didn't have to be, and has been ever since. But Robbie Lawler, if you don't appreciate Robbie Lawler, then you're not really a fan of mixed martial arts. You're looking for something else. If you don't appreciate that guy. Let's see, an awkward one maybe. I'm a big Verdum fan. I think that might not be a popular choice.
No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
You think he's going to do bare knuckle? I think he wants to do bare knuckle.
Sure. They're handing out. I mean, geez, I was talking with guys. They're willing to give me an offer, but I don't want to have to fight Chris Lieben, so I don't know. I don't know about that. You know, who does? Who wants to fight Chris Lieben? You know, nobody.
Nobody. No.
I don't know, right? I mean, Anderson, right? Don't you have to say Anderson Silva? You got to mention him in there too. So I don't know. That's probably 6, but thank you. Hashtag Gens for the Hall of Fame.
There you go. That's a great thing, that banner over there. You can write whatever you want. Yeah, Anderson Silva definitely is one of my favorite. And St. Pierre also. I think, sure. He had just the right mix of athleticism and strength and technique, that he was just always an exciting fighter to watch.
I mean, if by the right mix you mean all of them were maxed out stats on the video game all the way to 10, yeah, that guy was an incredible athlete, incredibly strong, incredibly talented fighter, ridiculously skilled, and a perfect gentleman as well. By the way, I've been in situations where 2 separate occasions. He doesn't know me at all, but it was him and I. I wasn't trying to make any attempt, and he just started a conversation to be polite. Really, really nice guy, very complimentary. So of him, and he's one of the greatest of all time, without question.
Yeah,
I mean, without any question.
And it helps. Jens is one of the little guys. Yeah. And it doesn't look like he can kick your ass, but he can kick a lot of freaking
brutally
twice his size asses. Yeah, and I'm a big fan also as well.
Yeah, he came through when I was in the house, and as a southpaw, he was all like, "Oh, let me show you some stuff." And he's like, pulled me to the side after practice and said, "You got to start doing this more, and you got to start doing that more." The left-hander, and kind of gave me some of the secret tricks and things like that. But I was already such a massive fan of his, man. Like I remember him looking across the cage at BJ going into round 4 and saying, "I'm gonna eat that guy. I'm gonna piss in that guy's Wheaties." Like I remember that. That stuff.
I'm gonna piss in that guy's Wheaties.
Elian, one of the best judges and best guys you'll ever meet. I've known that guy, Elian Rodriguez, for over a decade too. I knew that guy from Atlanta actually before I ever came to Florida. So.
Oh yeah, Elian, how you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, you know who was a game changer, and you might remember him because no one else does. Remember Marco? No, Marco Huas.
Absolutely.
You remember him? You know why? Because he was Brazilian.
Marco Huas.
What's that?
Foot stomp a la Marco Huas. I still say that to this day when I see a foot stomp against the cage. I still say that in reference.
Yeah, he probably did start the foot stomping, but he bridged that gap between a guy who knew the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai.
Absolutely.
Because nobody else did at that time, you know. And he was the first guy to do it. And I remember, just watching him and say, this is going to change the whole game because now all these guys are going to learn the stand-up. They're going to learn the Muay Thai, and they're going to – where did he learn it from, though? I want to know who is – because if he was from Brazil, who was down there teaching Muay Thai in Brazil?
At that point in time, I don't know if Noguchi was down there or not. I don't believe he's a Noguchi guy. I don't know if maybe he was I don't know his lineage. But I do know that his top pupil, of course, Pedro Hizzo, has come to American Top Team on a couple occasions and does seem very, very buddy with the Noguchi crew there, Master Cattell and all those guys that are from Noguchi Muay Thai. Our head Muay Thai coach, Cattell, he's the guy that you see in all the videos with Anderson Silva, like, 16 practicing with my brother. That's Master Cattell. So Cattell and Anderson were Noguchi students together when they were teenagers. But I don't think that's Marco Huas's lineage. I don't believe so.
I don't know. I just because there were other, aside from the Graces, there were some other Brazilian guys in the UFC back then, but none of them were doing Muay Thai. He was the first one.
For sure. Yeah, he
So
was. He was the Brazilian that wasn't pulling guard. It was something new. Yeah.
yeah,
Beating the piss out of him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And even in the United States, I mean, there weren't a lot of schools that taught Muay Thai. There weren't a lot of guys anywhere, you know.
No, and a lot of the schools were still kind of like, we do this style, and this is why this style can be X style. I always say that. But I remember one time somebody said, "Man, can Matt Hughes beat Hoist Gracie?" And I said, he has to. If not, then the last 10 years have been for nothing, because the sport is constantly evolving, right? First is pulling guard. Then we turn into these wrestlers that are big and strong and on certain types of supplements or whatever it may be, that are able to avoid submissions, but they can get the takedown and the ground and pound. Then you see Maurice Smith, the good kickboxer, who starts working takedown defense. So then it goes back to striking, and it's always kind of evolving. There'll be some hole that's exploited by something, and then the style envelops that, and it just keeps going and going and going. Marco Ruas was like one of the first guys that really, it's like one of the first guys you can really look back on now and go, wow, he was pretty complete even by like modern standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's always been our style is the best style. Oh, and by the way, we can beat jiu-jitsu because of this. And, our style is the best style, and we can beat wrestling because of this. But, yeah, so now it's kind of – for a long time that was what it was, and now it's kind of just you got to be good at everything. Water out of a cup, right?
Yeah. Well, some of the Gracies still say that now the only thing you need is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's it.
There's a school in South Florida, there's a school in South Florida where you can only train Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. You're not allowed to do anything else. You're not allowed to compete because competition bastardizes the true form of it. You're not allowed to train. When I was in Atlanta, there's a guy up there, Atlanta Jacare, Romero Cavalcanti. He's a black belt under Holes Gracie. One of Holes is only 5 black belts. And he had guys fighting MMA that were fighting professionally against guys that were starting to really come around, like the Tim Stouts and the Steve Heddens and guys that were well-rounded, and they were not allowed to train wrestling. They were not allowed to train striking. If they did, they had to do it somewhere else. Even though he was allowing them and encouraging them to fight mixed martial arts, if they wanted to train striking, they had to leave. They were not allowed to do it at Alliance Atlanta. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. You know, yeah. I don't get that whole mentality.
If you're presenting yourself as the perfect arts, you can't train anything else.
I know. So you're right, but at the same time, you're in a fight that's got a certain set of rules.
Correct.
And you're not allowed to use probably 60-70% of the tools that the other guy's using. That doesn't make sense to me.
They present it and advertise it as the way that complete Gracie Jiu-Jitsu can shut down anything else. Ergo, they can't have to train anything else because they just have to shut down whatever you're doing. And then as long as I don't lose, I still win. That's part of the mentality, but not to insult those guys. Tony Barker and all those guys were just absolute killers. I got put to sleep in the jiu-jitsu tournaments by those guys quite a few times. So, but and they all did very well too, actually, worth mentioning in mixed martial arts, despite being very, very one-dimensional.
Yeah, well, it comes down to who's the better athlete also. That's a big part of it. But that's look, if you were just doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, I could see, train here and nowhere else. But to put him in the octagon where there's so many different styles and all that but you could just use this. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't either. But which actually brings me to one of my favorite fights to watch and laugh. I still, to this day, rock back and take my feet in the air laughing. Roberto Crane versus Roger Huerta. I just laugh at the fact that I've never seen anybody that tired in my entire life. And he's one of those guys that was saying, man, no, I'm world champion jiu-jitsu. I'm world champion jiu-jitsu. A fight is easy. I'm world champion jiu-jitsu. And he was so incredibly gassed out in the second round against Roger Huerta that I just expected him just to disintegrate. Like, literally, I thought he was going to die. I thought he was going to have a heart attack and die. It was so funny. So funny.
As much as the Kimbo Slice Dada fight.
Oh man, have you watched the fight? Go pull it up on Fight Pass. Watch it. You're going to be amazed the way that he put his hand out and fell to his rib cage as a shot. He fell sideways and then just rolled over and just like wasn't even. Dude, it was so funny.
Wow.
It's so incredibly hilarious.
We're gonna put that on our watch list.
Yeah,
I got to see that. I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was one of the ones where, like, early in the fight, he gets Roger Huerta's back, and Huerta positions himself so he's looking at the camera, and he looks at the camera, and then he punches wherever Roberto Crane's head is while he's using the camera as like a spotter as to where to punch.
That's great. That's hilarious.
It is good. And I actually know guys who were Travis Luter students who said that coming off Tough 4, that Luter trained once a day in the gi with purple belts for 8 weeks to prepare to fight Anderson Silva for the UFC title.
Okay.
And then he got triangled.
And then he got triangled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anderson Silva was something else in those days for sure.
So guess who we saw in the news, Blake? This week, a famous boxer, 53, 54 years old, punching bags, might make a comeback in boxing.
Not Mr. I Eat What You Eat, champ.
Mr. Mike
Baddest
Tyson.
man on the planet.
Oh, baddest man on the planet. I was thinking of I was discussing earlier about a bare knuckle comeback for Shannon the Cannon. Oh yeah.
Shannon as well. So Shannon the Cannon signed with David Feldman, bare knuckle fighting championship.
Signed. That's official.
Official. Signed.
No, thank you.
Two deals.
Yeah.
Not me.
Blake says no, thank you. So
I don't want that fight. Thank you for offering.
Mike Tyson.
No, thank you.
You think Mike Tyson, Shannon Briggs?
No.
God, man, I hope no, I don't. But boy, wouldn't that be something to watch?
Wow.
Yeah,
Dave
right.
Feldman, get Mike Tyson in the ring. But no, Mike Tyson wants to come back, do some charity events. He wants.
There's nothing charitable about those body shots I saw in that video. That is not. They would need a charity for whoever took those.
Yeah, for sure. I was like, could you see like 5 more punches, please? It was like a tease, you know.
Man, that double left hook to the body. I'll take things I want no part of for 1,000, Alex.
Wow. So that was popular this week.
Why can't I just write the check to the charity, man? Why do I got to get in the ring with Mike Tyson?
Yeah, I'll pay whatever charity needs to not hit me.
Yeah. But there's so much stuff going around on the internet with that Mike Tyson. I saw a picture of him today where there was a period of time where Mike, he gained a lot of weight or whatever, and they said amazing body transformation, and they showed the, recent. I'm like thinking to myself, Mike has been this, he's been this, thing for years. Whenever that picture was that he was all blown up and bloated or whatever, it could have been his shirt or whatever, that was years ago.
Right.
And, he's been like this for at least 5 or 6 years, and I'm like, they're making such hype over this and like, oh, who's he going to fight? Who's he going to fight? And he's not going to fight anyone. He's going to fight someone for charity, just like he said. And it might be a boxer. It might be somebody else. We could go in there and fight some, YouTube star or whatever for charity, I don't go fight Logan Paul or whatever.
Yeah, that's what that guy needs.
One of those big mouth guys, take out Tyson. But if they did fight together with him and Shannon, that would be incredible.
So we just got 10 people signed up, Matt, on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody. The Fighting News YouTube, The Fighting News Facebook, The Fighting News Twitter, The Fighting News .com, and we're on right now The Fighting News TV.
Everywhere.
With ATT Blake, the official, unofficial voice of combat sports.
Unofficial.
Thank you.
What did you say, Matt?
The official, unofficial. It just goes right off the tongue.
That's what I said. The official, unofficial.
No, I said unofficial, official.
No, I said it right. I said it. I can play back the tape. I can play back the tape.
You.
So we're here. Jens Pulver for Hall of Fame. Wow, let's push that. I'm gonna make a shirt tomorrow. I'm gonna wear that shirt tomorrow. It's gonna say Jens Pulver for Hall of Fame.
I don't have a tattoo here yet. That's where Jens Pulver for Hall of Fame.
I have a picture, Blake, with Jens Pulver from 10 years ago, after a fight at the Hard Rock, with a piece of tape on his eye, a butterfly tape.
I feel like I've seen that picture for some reason.
What's that?
I feel like I've seen that picture for some reason.
Okay, and then a picture of Jens 10 years later, when he was just down here at XFN.
He was here for Titan, right?
Titan. He was down here for Titan, and we took a picture, and I posted it on our Instagram, and it was like, wow, 10 years later, same picture. And
that might have been where I saw the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. So, I'm a big fan, and
still a good guy.
Great guy. And he didn't.
Man, that first fight against Uriah, that first in WEC is just epic. Spectacular fight.
Wow. I always like watching Uriah fight. He always pulls some shit out of his.
He's pretty good at it. I'll give him, for sure.
He is.
That guy.
Any closing words, Blake?
You know what? Nah, man, thank you guys so much for having me on the show. Thanks for what you guys do. It's always good to have, because like I said, I'm an old school forgotten fossil relic, but I come from the day where like Sherdog and the message boards were what kept the sport alive. My name's not Trisha, by the way. I come from a time where the message boards were what was keeping it alive. People were, there was 4 UFCs, 6 UFCs a year. You had to really be committed to being a fan, or else you just couldn't keep up with the sport at all, because it just wasn't enough of it out there. So it's really cool to see that same online grassroots stuff that you guys are doing. And if I can just be shameless about it, if you don't already have Flow Combat, you don't already have Flow Wrestling, you're playing catch-up ball, go subscribe now. The 30th of this month, there's going to be some amazing fights. I want to thank everybody at XFN for letting me keep, in all seriousness, and keep doing something I really enjoy doing, being involved in the sport. Young fighters that I sometimes still get to work with and keep up with and things like that. So, man, thanks to everybody that's watching this. Thanks for keeping this amazing sport alive, I guess would be what I have to say.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you say hello to your beautiful wife. And Matt, anything to say?
Yeah. Hey, look, thanks for coming on. And, we're glad that you were able to make it. We were iffy there. We were actually just about to sign off before you came on.
Sorry to keep you guys on, man.
No worries.
Yeah, I was getting
we're in quarantine, man. What else are we doing here,
I was getting X-rays, and some girl came in like spurting blood. So they said that's more important than completing. They gave me my X-ray report for whatever reason, stopping the bleeding. So
yeah, they were ruining their floors, man.
I want to commend you, Blake, for taking Trish out on the first date to a really nice place, man. You must.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, season's 52.
Season's 52 isn't.
It was a low-calorie night.
Yeah, that's very
the personal favorite of mine.
It's
nice. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're a good man.
I am.
Yeah,
she's lucky to have me.
We might see you on the 30th. Matt, make that happen. If not, just tell Blake to put our name on the list. I'm on the list. We're on the list.
We got the plan. We got the plan. Go in with the masks on and say that's it.
That's it.
That's it. The official, unofficial voice told us.
That's
and if
right.
you don't believe me, you can go ask both of them.
Go ask both the Balakes. They know.
The official and the unofficial guy. And by the time they figure it out, we'll be sitting, ringside already. So
too late to worry about it.
That's my plan. But it's great talking about the old UFC also, man, because not a lot of people remember that.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know what? Remember, just in the old days, you had UFC like 1, 2, 3. They would have them on in Blockbuster where I lived. That's the only way you can watch. You have to rent the Blockbuster tape, and they would have it all the way in the bottom corner of the store with the rated X movies.
Yeah.
You know, it was next to Faces of Death and all these other, you know, rated X kind of like horror stuff, and you had the UFC.
Yeah,
there it was.
And then you turn on Gary Goodrich versus Paul Herrera, and you realize that it was worse than Faces of Death.
There was more blood in it, that's for sure. Eh?
For those of you that are looking for a fight that have never seen that, don't know what I'm talking about, just look up Gary Goodrich versus Paul Herrera, and I apologize for your nightmares.
Yeah, do it. Watch that in the morning, not at 10 o'clock.
So bad. I'm going to watch it right now.
There you go.
There you go.
All right, man. Blake, it was good talking to you. That's for sure. We'll definitely have you on again. Maybe a little bit closer, or just after the 30th, after the XFN fight. Maybe we'll have you, talk about do a little recap.
Let's do it. We'll recap that. We'll recap the triple header in Jacksonville. I'm game when you guys are.
All right, Blake.
Yeah, that's what we'll definitely do. That we'll have you on after the UFC. So
it's a date.
We'll set that up. It's a date. There you go. Trisha's got to make us protein shakes, so from that Bowman nutrition stuff.
Oh,
yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
It is good, actually. All right, guys.
All right,
no, you hang up first. No, you hang up first.
All right.
No, I'm out of here. I'll see you all later.
So, the fighting news was live. We were live.